downstairs.
The only thing we should have done is on the minutes, you can say that what was not.
Okay,
That
so
needed
for
to
the
be
minutes,
added.
there was a question on March 8th, the work meeting.
Yeah, downstairs.
Yeah,
Downstairs.
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 But-
Downstairs.
But we're gonna
If we
vote,
were
and if
being
that's
live.
okay, we'll, right.
Attendees have joined the meeting.
Okay, great. Okay. Financial management topics for discussion. Natalie?
Yes, you want me to read them or in the interest of time? open up for discussion?
They're all
They're
downstairs.
probably all
too,
downstairs.
Which you'll read.
So if somebody has any topic that they had on their mind that they thought
So-
that they wanted to discuss.
I had, what I put in the email was the, what if we have data and how much money and how many evaluations MOSC did
These,
last year?
these approvals are not, or they're sort of like just in case approvals.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with the nurses.
I know, we did that last year, but
Right.
We do it
what,
every year.
so did we use them last year as any just in case?
And we have to go back. I mean, nursing services we use all the
Yes,
time.
we do.
You
Especially in
know,
summer.
we have to go back and look. I mean, we're not at a place where during the regular school year, we really have to look at that summer last year. But it was not certainly a practice that, we would need to use MOAC for CST services throughout the school year.
But do you remember when like was it 2 years ago when we had to do an emergency authorization for like 100 grand?
Well, that was
For
because
child
we had
study
so many,
Okay.
the pandemic.
Well,
we had
that's why
so
I'm at-
many. Yeah.
So we're not
different-
at that
No,
level.
no, not at all. That was because we weren't in person and we weren't allowed to do virtual evaluations. So that we haven't been in that situation.
So it would be far and few between if we
Correct.
had
Correct.
CST evaluations. Okay.
Okay, any other topics that you want to discuss now or?
The auction, just real quick, we're auctioning 2 buses.
Yes, we are.
Great.
Yeah, this
You'll
is
let
part
us
of the
know.
efficiency survey. We're gonna auction off 2 buses that have like 3 to 5 years left on their service, so they think that we could potentially get some
Get some
decent money on it.
That's
That's why we're not doing it through gov deals.
Thank you.
I thank you. Instruction, is there any? anybody have
Nothing
anything?
that we can't discuss downstairs.
But does anybody have anything that they read that they
Questions
thought
on
they
the
wanted to? talk
PD or
about?
curriculum or out of school?
What, yeah, I had a question on the PD. Why does it say for parent teacher conferences?
It goes on because it's a teacher coming out of their assignment. So we just listed, it's not really PD, but because.
Shouldn't it be like overtime instead of
No,
PD?
there's no.
There's no overtime for teachers. I gotta laugh at that one.
But wasn't that part of the?
Sorry.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Why are we classifying it as PD if we're asking them to stay extra
Probably because,
for like,
what do you mean? Sometimes if they have to come out, we have to get a substitute or something like that, that's why. Because there has to be recorded as such. It's because they're not serving in their typical function.
but they're not doing professional development either, so why are we calling it professional development?
That's just how it's logged.
But that's not what they're doing.
Well, but a conference, it kind of falls into that category.
The parent teacher conference falls into
Yeah, I mean,
professional
well,
development.
There's just certain categories how things get logged, and that's that's basically like the closest one. It's really what it comes down to.
And they don't get, okay. Seems quite odd.
Okay,
It's education.
anything, who's negotiation? Is that,
That's Amy.
Oh,
it's Amy.
I
It's
thought
the
it was
cadence.
Wanda.
I could explain it.
Oh,
So
okay, great.
this
I
is.
thought I was negotiation.
Well, she's the chair, I guess
she's the chairperson.
No, you texted me and told me that I was the chair and I was listed on it.
Oh,
Okay, so
great,
the chair-
okay.
But I have no clue what you're talking about because I wasn't included.
I don't,
Okay, this is something that we brought up several times. This is the fact that somebody who joined my team was placed on a guide, okay, that was not funded during the negotiations process because there was not one other person on it. So it was never given the increments that the other guides were given. So we worked with the union to get the 21-22 correct as we hired the individual. And then we needed to work with the union again to put the 3.2% on the guides for 22, 23, and 23 and 24. And this is what they did. So the
Wanda,
union
that
has
was all done
approved this.
administratively. That was not
Absolutely.
through-
So it was just that one position.
It was only one person, and it was because the guide was never looked at during the regular contract negotiation because nobody existed on it. This is the accounts receivable payable position. It's the payable job that's in my department.
So Grace Ann is not here. We have policy. Who else is on the policy committee? Yourself and John, right? Would you like to?
One policy regarding the compensatory services, that is for those students who are going beyond 21. So that's the new law. So it's for those particular
Oh, it's
students.
not for,
It's not in general.
it's not the new expansions of compensatory services.
It's for the first line of the policy states for those who are going beyond 21.
Okay,
So it's for those students, when they have their IEP meetings, that those services are offered to those parents to make them aware of the possibility. Some parents allow, some parents choose it, some parents don't. That's
so
all-
that, I guess
that's all
that
it's done.
brings up the secondary question with the new laws and the expanded deadlines for compensatory services. Are we relaying that information to parents?
Yeah, I mean,
Of special ed
we would make
students?
them aware. I mean, we haven't gotten any new policy revisions on that. It took a year to get this policy.
It's been like in the news and in the,
Yeah, but it takes forever for that when they pass a law, but for that to become policy sometimes, it's a long
Okay.
time. But yeah, I mean, anything new, we get that information out to.
okay, if there's an extended deadline, okay.
Okay, and I think, so we have to actually have a session, because I didn't ask for any comments from the
We can
public.
do public session.
Right. So at this time, would anybody from the public like to make a comment? Anybody on the line like to make a comment? Ms. Conway? Maybe not, right?
President Weinstein, there are no commenters at this time.
Great, thank you, Ms. Conway. Okay, any old business that people want to discuss at this time?
Yes, and now I'm really not quite sure because when we were discussing budget and the list of positions that were considered to be included the art teacher, which I was kind of hoping we had moved to a 2 priority, which we discussed, and the kindergarten aides. When we went to full-time, you said that, that's when we brought in the aides, and it was kind of a luxury that we were going to have to reconsider. But thinking about the last couple of years and how many of these children probably weren't in pre-K, or parents could not afford to send them, or they didn't make our lottery, I would think that next year would be a year when they really needed aides to kind of corral everything that was lost in the last 2 years. So I just wanted to, just throw it out there that if possible to reconsider the kindergarten aides.
And one thing I will say on that is, obviously, we certainly understand, the role and the function that kindergarten aides serve. There is no doubt that, preschool is the new kindergarten in terms of.
If you can get in.
Well, yeah, but we have many students who, if they don't get into ours or in other preschool programs, many of our students do. Some of them are not accepting ours because they're going to other programs. Like I said, I think it's an item that, when we first met with the county, they said to us, what is this? And why are they here? And why do they exist? Because it's not something that they're used to seeing around. This is $100,000.
For all of the aides.
It's 100,000. So, plus. And we always talk about priorities. Every time we do budget, we talk about priorities. We certainly understand, the value and what they bring to the classroom. But when we're talking about that, to be honest, the state allows us to put 25 kids in the kindergarten. We don't do that. We have an average of about 18 in the kindergarten. So if we went to the state average, we could get 2 sections of kindergarten right there. That would actually generate more savings. But we make a conscious decision to try to keep,
18 to 20.
to keep
Yeah.
somewhere in that, in that 18, range. And unfortunately, it's one of the areas that we look, you know, hard at, and it's once again, it's all about if we're not going to do that, then what are we going to do? And remember, we've worked very, very hard to ensure that there are places for people to go to. Right? And if they choose, and while we may not be able to do that for everybody, we've been unbelievably successful in doing that for the overwhelming majority. So even though we were talking, and because with every position, for the most part, you're also talking about human being, right? And so beyond the position is the human being. And so what we have tried very hard to do is to make sure that the human beings have places to go to. There are places for these human beings to go to. If we say made a decision, okay, well, we're going to keep those aides, but we're going to have fewer sections of kindergarten, there are no places for those human beings to go to. Do you understand?
Yes.
What I'm saying? So these are some of the very hard decisions that we look at and make, and the considerations we look at when we're making.
Anything else for old business?
Someone else raise their hand?
No, we are gonna have an old business section.
I can wait. It's fine with
Is
me.
that cool?
Yeah.
One thing just to remember is we should talk about time for next week, since it's, you know, time. We can do that downstairs, or we can do it now. if we have-
Well, so on new, are we done with old business? Going old business? Okay, so new business is, we put down that we're gonna need to have a budget meeting next week to approve, to have a preliminary budget approval meeting, right? And so I think when Tina goes over where we are, you'll see that there's some small gaps that we have to solve, and we need a little bit more time to solve that. And we're also waiting for some other things to help us solve that gap. So I guess we still have to have an executive session.
Yeah, we should, there could be a couple of things we have to go
Okay.
over
So for me, I guess I would
that
say,
pertain to the budget.
so I guess for me, I would say, let's have a 6:30 meeting, executive session, and have a regular budget meeting at 7 o'clock. If
Do we
that's,
anticipate it's gonna be presentation after presentation, or?
no, it's gonna be, yeah,
I think we're just, the executive session, we're
I
just
think it's more
gonna, you know,
spreadsheets.
there's a couple of things that we probably just,
Well, I was gonna ask that, why do we need executive if it's not a normal session, why can't?
there's a couple of budget related things that could
Okay.
involve personnel.
Personnel,
so-
yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
And then the other is, I think, more just a combination of how we got from more general, more specifically, how we got from 1.8 down to what we anticipate to be right up to 2%, only using a bank cap readily available to us for this year, which is the 20,000, not the entire 366,000.
But you're gonna go over.
This is gonna be a budget only discussion next week? Is
Yes.
that
So
correct?
really the
only.
purpose of the meeting
Budget
is just to
only.
do the preliminary.
Thank you.
But are we gonna go over some of that whittling down tonight, so that we don't hear everything next week? Because that's.
We're gonna talk more generally, because there's still some moving parts, so but we can speak generally. Our plan is to speak generally as to how we've cut off probably about $1.5 million from where we were last week.
We had 28 last week, we're
Yeah.
about 300.
About 300,000. So generally, it was, generally, there's some positions, there's some, some of the things that got moved, some of it was shell game, some things got moved
You don't have to tell me
into,
now.
yeah, but, just as a prelude, just to be able to, more things going into capital, some things going into more one-time things going into the ESSER funds that are not a lot long-term recurring, that we could put in capital, things like that. So we were able to move some things around, some additional personnel things.
And you will go over some of that tonight, you're saying.
I think more specifically next week.
But we have to hear it for the first time next week and then vote on it next week.
Because once
Why
again,
do
there's still, once again, our goal is to try to, there's positions and people. And we're
Yeah.
trying very hard to make sure we have as many homes for people as we can.
So when do we get all the documents then for this special meeting?
We should have, with the agenda go out Friday.
Friday, the agenda go
Our
out Friday,
goal
we should
would
have-
have that Friday.
We will have a Friday. Should be able to Friday.
And what's the, I'm sorry, what is the trajectory of if we wanted to change that? Like, not change, like if we vote on this preliminary, it's approved by Lester and say we all get creative and we think of something else in the next 5
We have
months.
Yeah,
another
there's a month, I
four
mean,
weeks.
this is a
Another how many?
preliminary. Yeah,
4 weeks.
this is a preliminary budget, the final budget presentation is at the end of April. So, yeah, there could be, things
There's a
could be
lot of things that are
shifted,
still
things-
open.
Yeah,
Okay,
A lot of things.
So we have a nice group of people downstairs waiting for us
Yes.
to give out
That's right.
awards and recognize it. So can I get a motion to, I guess second?
second.
Thanks.